Hi, Calc 1 class. Hi. Hope you guys are okay. Alright, so we're going to do this step down thing, but with trig. So there's a couple things that it can, if you do it ahead of time, it makes it so easy. You can just fly through it. If you don't do this ahead of time, it's a kind of a nuisance. So the first thing I'm going to do is make a little cheat sheet. Okay, so the derivative of the sine is the cosine. Remember that? And the derivative of cosine is negative sine. Okay, that's one thing. The other thing is, I'm just going to make a bare bones unit circle. Okay, so the point here, because remember it's a unit circle on a Cartesian coordinate system, unit meaning the radius is 1. So your ordered pair here is x is 1, y is 0. Up here, x is 0, y is 1. Over here, x is negative 1, y is 0. And down here, x is 0, y is negative 1. And remember, we always go this direction for positive angles. So this is 0 radians. This is pi over 2 radians. This is pi radians. 3 pi over 2 radians and 2 pi. Then the other thing I'm going to put is that, remember, the ordered pairs, the xy value, cosine and sine. Cosine is the x value, sine is the y value of any point on that circle. Okay, so once we have these, it's not too bad. So going back to this sheet, we have problem number 7. We have f double prime of x equals the sine. And f prime of 0 equals 3. And f of 3 pi over 2 equals 2. Okay. So while 0 is your friend when you're not doing trig, because it makes it super easy, you're going to have to still go back up to here whenever you're dealing with the trig stuff. Okay, so the step down thing, the integral of f double prime gives me f prime. So f prime of x is the integral of the sine of x dx. Okay. Go back up here. Remember, when I'm taking the derivative, I'm going this way. When I'm getting the integral, antiderivative, I'm going that way. So the integral of negative sine is cosine. So the integral of positive sine will be negative cosine. Negative cosine of x plus c. Okay, now just like with the other ones, I need to use this information to find out what that c equals. So this tells me f prime of 0 equals 3. So 3 is going to equal to the negative cosine of 0 plus c. This is where I use my little unit circle thing. Okay, cosine of 0. So this is the radians. Here's the 0 radians. That corresponds to this ordered pair. And the cosine is the x part of that ordered pair, so it's a 1. So I have 3 equals, don't lose your negative sign here, negative 1 plus c. Therefore, c is equal to 4. Add 1 to both sides. Okay, so now, to get f of x, I'm going to integrate f prime of x, which is negative cosine of x plus 4. Okay, this, replace your c with its value. Okay, so, alright, the integral of negative cosine. Well, the integral of cosine is sine. So the integral of negative cosine is negative sine. And then the integral of a constant, you just slap an x on there. And then we have our arbitrary plus c. Okay, so now I go back over here and I say, okay, when x is 3 pi over 2, f is going to equal 2. So I have 2 is equal to negative sine of 3 pi over 2 plus 4 times 3 pi over 2 plus c. Okay, so I go up here and I go, okay, the sine of 3 pi over 2. Here's 3 pi over 2. Sine is the y value. So the sine of 3 pi over 2 is negative 1. So I have negative of a negative 1. Okay, then over here I can reduce this. So that's going to give me 6 pi plus c. So you have 2 equals 1 plus 6 pi plus c. Subtract 1 from both sides. That gives you 1. Subtract 6 pi from both sides. And that gives you your c. So you can just rewrite that as 1 minus 6 pi. Leave pi, just like you leave e, okay, because it's irrational, never-ending, non-repeating decimal. You always leave that as a pi and let the end user determine how many spaces they want for after the decimal. Okie dokie. All right, let's do number 8. So if you take the time to do this, you can see it makes it just really easy. You can just refer to that. Okay, so f double prime of x in this case is cosine of x. And f prime of pi equals 2, and f of 0 equals 3. Okay, so just step down. So to get f prime, I'm going to integrate this. Go up here and say, okay, the integral of cosine is sine. So f prime of x is just the sine of x plus c. Then I use my f prime information to find out what c equals. So this tells me when x is pi, the whole thing equals 2. So 2 is going to be the sine of pi plus c. I go up here and I go, okay, here's pi. The sine of pi, sine, remember, sine is the y value, so that's just going to be 0. So we have 2 equals 0 plus c. So that means that c equals 2. So f prime of x is just going to be sine of x plus 2. Step down to get f of x. Integrate this. So f of x is the integral of the sine of x plus 2 with respect to x. Okay. So I go up here and I say, okay, the integral of negative sine is cosine. So the integral positive sine is negative cosine. Integral of a constant, just slap an x on there, and then you have your plus c. All I have to do is find out what this c equals. I'm dealing with f, so I go here and I say, okay, when x is 0, the whole thing equals 3. So 3 equals negative cosine of 0 plus 2 times 0 plus c. All right. Go up here and say, okay, 0 radians is here. The cosine is 1. Don't lose your minus sign, just like before. And then that's just 0. So this just means 4 equals c. So you just write that as a 4. If you were so inclined to check this, if you take the derivative of this, and then take the derivative of that answer, that'll give you f double prime. Hopefully. Anyway, I hope that wasn't too confusing. But these aren't too bad. I don't think anyway. But then again, I wish I could talk to you guys in person. This is terrible. I know, it's terrible for you guys. I think about every one of you. All of my students. I look at my roster and I look at your names and I close my eyes and I picture the classroom and I picture where you normally sit, and then I think about each of you and your story, you know. Some of you, this has to be just terrible. So, anyway, but I love you guys and we'll get through it. So, I have on pajama bottoms I bet you do too. All right. I love you. Stay tuned.